Hi, in this video, I would like to show you how to create a scriptable object to hold your global variables. And we're also going to create a custom editor for it and a custom editor window for it. So basically you will be able to change those global settings with a simple editor window inside Unity. We will use UIElements, and I will also use, after that, I'm going to show you how to do it without our system or editor UI. So this is a design system built on top of the editor UIElements framework, or UI toolkit, I think it's called now. And yeah, we will use a singleton pattern to access our serialized object, our asset file, and that's pretty much it. So let's get started. I will move as fast as possible because this is a long one, but you will learn how to create a way to create an object that holds your global variables and that can be accessed from anywhere. And I will also show you how to create a custom interface to have a dashboard for it. Basically, it won't be actually a dashboard. That's a different topic. All right. So I'm going to create a folder. Let's call it sandbox, right? So this would be my project. And I will have some runtime code. I will have some editor code, and I will have some data. This is where my asset file will exist, right? So let's create our folders and say data. Now, because I want my asset file, my global settings file to be available in the build and not have to have a reference to it anywhere, I need to add it under a resources folder. This is a special folder, right? So I'm going to create a folder called resources. And this is where my file will exist. Now let's create another folder. I'm going to say editor. Now, this is again a special folder inside Unity. Whatever you put inside of it will not be added to your build. And it also gives you access to the Unity editor namespace and all the tooling for the Unity editor. Now, I usually create different folders for different types of things inside the editor. Now, in this case, I'm saying now a lot. In this case, we will have an editor and a window. So I'm going to create a folder called editors, and another folder called windows. Right? So this is my structure now. Now the final part is I need another folder called runtime. Now this is also, why am I saying now so many times? This is also my namespace structure, right? So let's go in right there because this is where I want to create my files. So let's create a new class. This will be my sandbox settings. So namespace sandbox.runtime public class. This is a scriptable object, right? Usually when you want to create a scriptable object, you will say create asset. You'll add the create asset menu attribute and create it manually. But because we will use a singleton pattern, this is no longer needed. So let's add a singleton pattern for this. I'm going to say private static string. I'm going to say asset name, and the name will be name of sandbox settings because I like to have a good naming convention. Now I need an instance and a private static sandbox settings as instance and a public static sandbox settings instance. All right. And I need to get it. Now, if that is not null, then I'm going to return it. Otherwise, I'm going to look in the resources folder for an asset file called sandbox settings. There you go. Do I need to zoom in a bit? Yeah, you should be able to see it. All right. So if we do not have a reference, we look in the resources folder. If again we cannot find it, if we find it, we return it. If we cannot find it, we create an instance for it. Now, just by creating an instance of a scriptable object doesn't mean that you created a file for the scriptable object. Since we will run this in the Unity editor at first, we are able to also create the file. Now, in order to create a file, we need to use Unity editor code. Unity editor code cannot be used at runtime. So how do we do that? Well, we use a preprocessor directive or a defined symbol, and I say if Unity editor create asset, and if now this path is wrong because I said that I want to have it under sandbox data resources. I'll say sandbox data resources asset name.asset. And finally, we return the instance. And now we have an scriptable object with a singleton pattern. Hooray, hooray. All right. Now let's add some test variables. And I'll say public string test string. Let's add a test int, public int, test int, and let's also add a test float, right? Just so we can have some variables. In order to access them and to create this file, because I'm not going to manually do it, I would like to have a mono behavior so I can attach it to a game object and just be able to see them. Let's also set some default values. Let's say hello world for this. Let's say 42 for this, and let's say 314, let's say pi. All right, perfect. So we have some default values when this asset is created. So I'm going to create another class. I'm going to say sandbox tester, right? This will be a mono behavior. And now let's just call in the awake method. Let's call some debug logs so we can see these. But before we do that, let's say private static sandbox settings, and let's access the instance. And in the awake method, I want to see these values, right? And yeah, let's just create it. I'm going to create a empty game object here, and I want to say tester, and we're going to attach the sandbox tester class and just enter play mode. Create empty, let's say tester. This is so easy. Let's drag this here. And like I said, under the resources, the first time that we will access this instance, the file will get created. All right, so in this case, let me show you what will happen. When we enter play mode, we will access here the instance. The moment we access the instance, it will say, do we have a reference to it? No. Let's look, let's try to load it from the resources. Can it be found? No. Let's create an instance. Because we're in the Unity editor, I'm also going to create a file for that instance in this path, and I'm going to return the instance. So this is what is going to create my file, right? Let's come back here. Let's enter play mode. Ta-da! The file will appear. There you go. And it has the default values. And here we already have accessed the values without having a direct reference to it. So yeah, this is the singleton pattern used with a scriptable object. All right, we've created our object. Now you can add as many settings as you want here. I don't care. I'm also gonna show you a save and load method to and from player preferences. You can also create a different type of save and load methods. We need a global key. I'll say a private static string, let's say get key, and here this is the key, and now let's say public static void save. Let's have a method to save, and I'm going to say test player preferences, player prefs, say set string, and in this case get key name of perfect. So this is a save method, and player prefs save. All right, and let's also create a load method, and there you go. In case you want to save and load your data, this is how you do it. It's very, very easy. If you add more variables here, you need to add them here. Note that not every variable can be saved, and for different things you may need a different saving type. Of course, you can also save in a binary file, in a JSON, whatever. I'm just showing you a simple way of doing a save load method. This is very easy. You just call load at the beginning and save at the end, and you're done. It's pretty much, yeah, that's it. All right. What do I want to show you? Well, I said I want to show you how to create custom editors and a custom editor window for this this class. All right. So let's come back here. All right. So this is the default editor. Let's create a custom editor for it. That looks a bit better and yeah, it's easier to use. So under editors, I'm going to create here a new class. I'm moving quite fast, I hope. So let's say sandbox settings editor, right? So notice the namespace sandbox editor editors. Now this is a Unity editor.editor. All right, and now we have to say of which class are you an editor of. In this case will be custom editor type of sandbox settings, and I usually like to set the next flag as true. So basically, if you're using this custom editor in an array, or you create an inherit class from sandbox settings, in this case, I would like this to be the default editor. So I set it true. Now, just because I created this doesn't mean that we now have a custom editor. This is just the first step. So if I'm going to come here, you're going to see that we see again the same editor. That is because we need to override a method called createInspector GUI. Override. All right, and this returns a visual element. And that visual element is the thing that you're seeing in the Unity editor. So if I return a new visual element, just by doing that, now this will disappear. Let me just deselect and reselect it. 1 second. All right, so let's come back here, and there you go. You cannot see anything because it's empty. Let's add a label just so you can see that we have full control. And let's say var root. Let's create a root object, new visual element, root dot add. Let's add a new label and say hello world, and I'm going to return the root. All right, so basically I just created a visual element and I just added a label to it, and you'll see now that we have full control of this editor. We can start building it. Now when you create an editor, let's come back here. Come on. There you go. Hello world, right? Hello world. Now, when you create an editor, there are 3 steps. 1, create your serialized properties, get your serialized properties, find them actually. 2nd, create your elements that you're gonna show in your editor. 3rd, you're gonna create the layout. So just assemble it. I usually split it up in find serialized properties, initialize editor, and then compose or create layout or whatever you want to do. Of course, you can use USS and UXML files, USS for styling and UXML for layouting if you want to do that. I usually like to do it in code. This is just a personal preference of mine, but this can be done in various ways. So I'm going to put the root right here, private visual element. Let's make it a property with a getter and a setter, right? And now I have 3 steps, right? So I said find serialized properties, initialize editor, and finally compose. There you go. Now let me create these methods. Private void initialize. And finally, there you go. All right. So now that I have this, I need to get my serialized properties. So what are those serialized properties? Well, they are the things that allow you to change values of the values of your variables, and also come with some nifty features like do and undo, right? So I have test string, test int, test float, right? So I'm gonna come back here. Let's say private serialized property. I'll say property test string, test int, and test float. Now I have them. Now I need to get them, right? So I'm gonna say serialized object. Actually, I'm gonna say property test string equals serialized object, find property, and here you usually use the name of that property. I'm gonna say name of sandbox settings test string, right? And I'm gonna do the same for the other two. Sorry. The int and the float. There you go. Now that I have my properties, I need for a way to see them. And I'm gonna recreate the default Unity editor, and I'm gonna use property fields, right? So let's set some property fields. And I'm gonna say private property field. I'm gonna say string test string property field, test int, and test float. Here in the initialize editor, I need to do that. But first I need to initialize my root, all right? So let's say root equals new visual element. And now test string is new property field. Let's create our property fields. So I found my properties, I connected them. I created my fields, the things that you will see and you will interact with. Now I need to compose my editor. I'm gonna say root, add. Let's add first our label. Let's say new label, and here I'm gonna say sandbox settings. All right, root, add my string property field, my test property field, and my float property field. And believe it or not, that's it. Now I have recreated my editor. So how does this work? Well, when the inspector calls create inspector GUI, it finds the serialized properties. There you go. It creates all the components, the root and the property fields, and then it composes them. It adds to the root everything, and finally it returns the root that contains all of these. And of course, it also does an auto bind. So let's come back here, let it compile, and we should be able to see our default editor, right? Pretty easy. Now, what if I would like to see this editor in a window? How do I do that? I need to create an editor window, right? So I'm gonna show you that. So under Windows, I'm gonna create a new file called sandbox settings window. There you go. And here, this is a Unity editor window, right? In order to open window, you need a static method, and that method, I'm gonna call it open. I'm gonna say public static void open, and I'm gonna say window get window. Just gonna set the title, and then I'm gonna call show on it. And this is how this works. Of course, there are other ways of doing it, but I'm just showing you the native way without any custom code from editor UI, from our interface. Then we're gonna change it with our interface. So I have this method, but I need a way to show it. Let me come back here. I would like to have here sandbox, and then I would like to have the option for settings. How do I do that? Well, it's a simple attribute, and it's one method. So it will be menu item sandbox settings, and that's pretty much it. And now we can open our window. Whew, In order to show the contents of a window, there you go, sandbox settings, and we have an empty window that can be even put wherever you want to have it. All right. Now I would like to add the contents of this inside of my window, so I don't have to come every time I want to see or change the settings here. So I can simply access it from here. All right. So how can I do that? Well, I'm going to use the same editor and I'm going to inject it in my window, and I'm gonna be able to synchronize the values. I'm just going to show you how to do that. All right. Now for my editor, I created a oh, what's this? This is awful. For my editor, I created a root visual element where I edit everything and then I just pass it back to the inspector to draw it. The window has a root visual element. It's not consistent at all. Why? I don't know. Whoever designed the system. So I'm going to say private visual element root, and I'm going to say root visual element, just so I have a shorter variable name to work with. All right. In the editor window, there is a different type of method. Again, why? I don't know. But instead of create inspector GUI, you have create GUI. Void create GUI, and this is where we do our stuff. I'm going to say root clear because I want to clear it, and then I want to add my sandbox settings hello world. All right, let's add just a simple label so you can see that we now have access to this. All right, so I cleared this visual element because I have access to it, and then I added a label sandbox settings hello world. This is actually very easy. There you go. This is my text. How about I get everything from here and inject it here? How do I do that? Well, again, that's very, very easy. I'm going to say var editor. I need to access the editor, the custom editor for this sandbox settings. So I'm going to do a cast sandbox settings editor, and then I'm going to say not create editor, Unity editor, create editor, and I need to pass the target object. How do I get the target object? Well, I use the instance in this case. So sandbox settings instance. All right. Also, I need to add the using for it. Sandbox settings. Oh, what? Oh, come on. Sandbox settings instance. So I also added sandbox runtime here. Now, just because I have the editor doesn't mean I have the visual element that I can inject there. The visual element, you get it by calling the create inspector GUI. So I need to get the visual element. So I'm going to say var editor root equals editor create inspector GUI. This is not enough. I also need to bind the created editor to my editor scriptable object. Why I need to do that? I don't know. That's how it works. So I'm going to say editor root, add editor root. So basically I'm adding this visual element. I'm adding this to my root. Now, like I said, it's not enough. It will not work. And you will see in 1 second because we're missing one line of code. And you will just see sandbox settings, this one, but you will not see any variable. There you go. So you only see sandbox settings. You're not seeing anything because we didn't bind the scriptable object to this. So in order to do that, I'm going to say editor root dot bind, and I'll say editor scriptable object, serialized object. Sorry. I know this might sound confusing, but these are the 3 magic lines that allow you to do this. Let's come here, and finally, you've done it. You have the same custom editor that you're seeing here in the inspector. Now you have it in your window. And they're also synchronized. They also work with do and undo. And I can now say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's undo this. I'm hitting Control Z. Again, 6.69. I can also undo and say, hi there. As you can see, they're both synchronized. And I also don't have to have them both open, but I'm just showing you that they work. Now let's use, because we're creating a custom editor, I would like to be able to make it look nice, because well, I don't like this design, and I don't think it has a very good user experience or usability for that matter. So let's do that. Now we're going into our code. A lot of our code uses method chaining, and it's less, you need to write less code, and it's easier to read and to write with this approach. All right, so usually I'm going to leave the serialized property. Usually I have a component header. So I'm going to say private fluid component header. I'm going to say component header. All right, let's say get set. And then let's go in our initialize editor. No longer need to find the serialized properties. And here I say component header equals fluid component header get. And then I'm gonna, let's go for method chaining here. I'm gonna say set component name text, name of, actually let's just say sandbox settings. All right. Just by adding that, it will look a lot better. And here, instead of root add, I'm going to say component header. All right. So let's see how this looks. It's very, very easy. And I'm going to simplify the code a lot from now on. And you will see that it's very intuitive to work with. All right, there you go. Now I have sandbox settings, sandbox settings. Of course, it looks awful, and I would also like to add an icon here, maybe set a different color and add some spacing. So first of all, the default method that UIElements uses is add. I don't like it because I prefer to be able to use method chaining. So we have another one called add child. And because we're using this, let's import the missing reference. In this case, I think it's this one. All right. And I'm going to say add child everywhere. I'm going to remove root from here, and I'm going to do it like so. All right. So basically, this is already easier to read. As you can see, root, and I'm adding some children to it. Let's also add some space. You can say add space to add, let's say 12, maybe 8. All right. So basically I added some space. Again, this is from our infrastructure because we're adding a lot of methods chaining. So you can read it: component header, space, test string property field, test int property field, test float property field, right? So I already know how it will look. There you go. I usually don't use space, I use space block because this is a space of 4, and I'll say 2, it multiplies by 2. And let's also add some space between these. And just by doing that, it will look a lot better. Just adding some spaces. Yeah, everything doesn't have to be cramped for a good design. I'm waiting for it to compile. There you go, now I have some spaces. Let's add a icon and let's change the color. So in order to do that, we already provide a lot of animated and static icons as textures. And you can also add your own. I'm not going to show you how to do that in this particular tutorial. I'm just going to show you the one that already exists, but I'm going to show you in a different one how to do that. So let me show you Doozy, how you can find them so it's easier for your for how you approach it. Sprite sheets are the animated ones, textures are the static ones. So I'm going to say sprite sheets, icon. I think I have a settings one around here. RS. Did I go past it? Settings, there you go. So I'm going to use this icon, this animation. How do I get to it? Well, everything is quite intuitive in our approach. So I'm going to say editor sprite sheets dot editor UI dot icons dot settings. That's it, because this is dynamically generated code. So I'm going to say set I'm going to set an icon. Set icon for this editor sprite_sheets.editor_UI.icons.settings, and just like that, you've added a animated icon to your interface. So if you're working in a team or you want to impress your teammates just by adding this, it's one line of code for you. Let me show you. There you go. Now I have my icon here. I would like to make it a different color. Again, we have two types of colors and selectable colors. And one more thing, every color has two variants, one for the dark theme, one for the light theme. So basically you're designing for both themes at once. And that's quite a big advantage, I would say. So let's go to colors, editor UI, and let's use the amber color, all right? So this color is for the dark theme, this color is for the light theme. How do I find this color? Well, editor colors dot editor UI dot amber. That's it. So set accent color editor colors dot editor UI dot amber. There you go. Save. And just like that, you now have a color. These are dynamically generated, so you can create, these are scriptable objects, you can create your own color set and just run a global refresh or just refresh the colors. So you can say refresh database and it will search for all the colors, or you can say tools Doozy refresh and here you can say editor UI colors. So basically you're refreshing all the colors here and your colors will be injected. Now I said that these also work for light and dark. So because I used this amber color, if we're gonna switch the theme to a light theme, if you're one of those people that uses light theme, I hate you, you will see this color, all right? So it looks nice. Let's just show you how that looks. Let's change the theme. So basically all the components and all the things that you're using with editor UI has a dual color system, just so it looks nice on both themes. And there you go. Now you will see that this is a different color and it also looks nice. All right. Let's go back from this monstrosity of a theme and let's go to dark. And let's continue our journey by creating some fluid fields. These are our custom way of showing a property. Basically, I hate that I have this long ass name. I have a lot of wasted space and a lot of usability that I do not like here. And I like to have my variable name here on top and then my, how do you call it? My value under it. All right. So this is where our fluid field comes. That's how it's called. All right. So I'm no longer going to use property fields. I'm going to use a text field for the string, an integer field for the test int, and a float field for the test float. Are you following me? All right. Let's create our private fluid field, and I'll say test string fluid field test. No, not this. Private fluid field test int fluid field and test float fluid field. All right. I'm gonna delete these because I'm no longer gonna use them, and I would like to create a text. I say test string text field, right? And I'm gonna say new text field. I'm gonna reset it, reset layout. I always do that because for whatever reason, whoever designed these components in Unity decided to add some random padding and margins and so on. So we have this reset layout method that resets everything just because I want to have full control over the design. So I'm going to say reset layout. I'm going to say flex grow 1, so it grows with its parent. And then I would like to also let's bind to property, and the property will be property test. All right. How would you write this without the method chaining? Because you may wonder, hey, why do I have to use this? Watch this. So this would be bind, and you need to bind it. Bind. I don't think you bind to property. Is this ours or is this? Oh, path. Binding path equals this one, and then you have to say yeah, test string text field dot bind to serialized property. Actually, you don't need you need to set the binding path. Now for the reset layout, you need to do all of this. So let's clear margins, paddings, and distances. So yeah, this is insane. I don't know why they made this coding. So style dot margin bottom equals 0, top left. So basically I want to reset them. Now I want to reset the padding. Now I want to reset the borders. All right. What else do I want? So basically you want to reset everything, and this is what you would have to write. Let's also reset the left. Yeah, I'm also going to reset this. So basically this is what you would have to write, and there are minimum values, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's really insanity. Minimum size, minimum height, minimum max height, minimum width, max width. So basically this is what you would need to write. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything. And of course, let's also add the flex. Oh, height actually should be auto, so you don't need to write this. I'm going to say flex grow 1. So you either write this or you write this. You choose, right? Good luck. All right, and now let's go with our fluid field. Let's create it. Let's say fluid field dot get. Let's get a new fluid field. Let's set a label text, and this will be my test string. Oh, by the way, if you want to add a tooltip, again, the Unity way would be this dot tooltip after that long ass list equals test string. All right. So let's say this is a tooltip for the test string property field. All right. So this is how you would do it. I recommend you do it like this. Set tooltip. All right. It's a bit clearer. This is how I like to work with the system. Really, it's entirely up to you. So add field content, and let's add this text field. All right, so right now I've just added let's do it like that. So you'll see that I'm adding my fluid field that contains a test string text field. So basically you will see a small label, and then you will see, small label, and then you will see the value field inside of it for the string, and with a tooltip. Another Unity bug, the tooltip is not visible in play mode. Why? I don't know why. Just so you know, in case you don't see it, and if you're in play mode, so basically right now I'm in edit mode, but if I enter play mode, the tooltip will no longer be visible. Is it a bug? Well, you tell me. All right, so I've done that. Let's do the same for our other fields. Of course, I wouldn't use this because we have a design utilities class, and that also makes the code even smaller. So I say design utils dot new text field property test string, and I would only use this. I no longer did that. So basically, this is how it would look. What does this do? The new text field thingy? Well, it creates a new text field. It says the binding path. It sets a name. So basically, you will see it in the hierarchy. It resets the layout. It changes the shrink. It does an alignment, and you can also have invisible fields because for whatever reason, the engineers that made UIElements or UI Toolkit decided that you should have invisible fields if you want to see if a variable changes. You cannot do it any other way. Why? Well, you ask me. I don't know. So yeah, this is where we are now. Okay, let's continue. Let's add our integer field. So var test int integer field. Again, it already knows what I want. Let's add the tooltip. Yeah, this is way easier from my point of view. Set flex grow, just use method chaining, and you will have a far better time. Test int fluid field equals get. Perfect. And now let's add it here. Add space block, and let's add a child test int fluid field. And let's do one more. This will be our float field. Design utils again should have all the options for it. All right, and let's add a block. This is all in real time. Whew. Jesus, I need to drink something. Sorry. Okay, and now you'll have a nicer looking editor. From my point of view, of course. And there you go, you have this. Now, we usually don't use, so this is how this looks, right? I'm gonna show you some more advanced stuff. For the editor window, we have some other things that we use. For example, we use a fluid window. Fluid window type of sandbox settings window. And here I'm going to say internal open window sandbox settings. No longer need this, and this will be a protected protected override void create GUI, and this will be clear recycling clear. All right, this is a special method for us. So basically this fluid window of ours has some extra settings because you might want to save in the editor preferences the variable, the state. It also has a way to add a window layout. It also has a way to see if the window is opened or focused. It also uses a singleton pattern for the window that you should build yourself if you don't have it. And it also has a way to open the window and set its title. And it also checks for play mode changes, and it rebuilds the window. So yeah, it does a lot of other functionalities that you might need. We found out through almost 2.5 years of working with the system that you actually need to handle this. So now we are right here where we left off. Same window. Now I have an issue. I like that I have a header here. I hate that I have a header here. How can I fix that? Well, I'm just gonna hide it. One way of doing it is making the component header public and accessing it here. Another way is creating some method chaining and just call it any way you want to do it. Let me show you. So what I know in my editor class, so sandbox settings editor, I would like to hide the component header. All right, so I'm going to create a, let's start method chaining. Method chaining methods. Right, So I'm gonna create some method chaining. Let's actually create a region method chaining methods, right? And region, right? And here I'm gonna say public. Do I want to create a static class for it? Nah, let's go like this. And I'll say hide component header, right? And well, I'm gonna say component header hide. Of course, it's not we don't need to check. So I created this method, right? Let's go in our window, and here let's do our let's say editor dot hide component header, right? So just by calling that, right now we have some differentiations between what we see in the inspector if we select the asset and what we see in the window, because most of the time you may want to add some different options and several other things in your window, right? There you go, it already changed. Come on, work faster. Everybody's waiting. Perfect. So now, as you can see, I'm using the same editor. I'm drawing the same thing, but I'm just hiding that. Now I have another issue here. I would like to add some padding because I need it desperately, because this looks like, yeah, shit. So I also want to add some padding here. So I will add some padding over here in the editor. And here I would like to add some padding all over the place. So let's come back here in the editor, in the root. Now you have here a new visual element. I can say set padding right, design utils case spacing. So basically I'm adding a 4a. I don't want that. In our design utils, we decided after a lot of tests that one space is 4 points, and we use that everywhere. And this is a way to have a cohesive design that looks well everywhere if you just stick to some basic distances. And this is the one we decided to set. Of course, you can set here 4. Of course, you can do that if you want to do it, but you would have to remember some magic values and use them everywhere. Don't do it. All right. Now, this is just, this will add some padding here and of course here. And you will notice it 1 second once this compiles. Oh God. Oh. All right. So this is the padding, right? It didn't compile here. Yeah, I don't see it here. Or is it very small? Anyway. So it compiled here, but we have a way of getting this from our design utils and root, get editor root. And if you go here, you'll see that it actually adds root padding. I don't know what root padding is, 6 for this particular example. So we'll add it here. Now I said that in my window, I would like to change the padding. Again, I'm going to use method chaining and add a method that sets a padding for me, right? So it will, there you go. There you have your padding. So let's go back here and I'm going to say public set root padding float value, right? And this will be root set padding value, and I'm going to return this, right? And in my window, I'm going to say set root padding, and I'll say design utils case spacing 2x. 2x means 2 multiplied by 4, 8, right? And let's do that. Let's come back here. And now, did I save everything? Control Shift S. Come on. And you will see that we should have a padding inside our window. There you go. So now we have some space around this. Okay. Let's say I do not like that my integer and my float are one under the other, and I would like to have them side by side. So basically I need to create a visual element. I need to change its type to column and inject these two over there. How would I do that? I need to do it only once because since I'm using the same editor, I'm just changing the editor. All right. So I can do that very easily right here. Right. So here I'll say add child. And say design utils column, actually a row I want. And I'm just going to move this, this, and this. So I'm just adding another row that contains these. All right. And that's pretty much it. You will see how fast this works. And if once you understand how you need to code this, this is a matter of seconds. As you can see, this is real time, right? I'm not doing any editing. I don't even have time to do editing, to be honest. All right, so again, this works. Check it out. And you can also change the values. How can you access, how do you know you can access these values in real time? So you can edit them from one part of the code. Let's add a button that increases and decreases test int, right? So let's put a plus and a minus sign here. How would I create such a button? Again, I'm going to create it once in my editor, and I'm going to see it in my window or here. So if someone, let's say, finds this file, this asset file, they will have the options here. But if you want to use the window, well, you're going to have it here as well. So basically, I'm creating once and I'm using it in two different spaces with different flavors and different things. All right. Whew. Oh, I've talked a lot. So now I need some buttons. I do not remember what buttons the editor code has. I remember they were all full, but I'm going to create them right here, right? So this is where I have my integer field and I need some buttons. Now, if everything in our components is called fluid, the name of the button will be fluid button, maybe. Yeah, of course, fluid button. And this will be my increase int value button, all right? And it already knows what I want. It will do that. I don't think I need, do I need the margin on the left? No, I do not need it. All right. Actually, I'm going to say margin on the right. All right. And I need one that will decrease the value. Fluid button get. There you go. Now, because I'm using the same style for the button, I'm going to create a method here. I'm going to say fluid button. Let's say get small button, right? And I'm gonna actually get small button, and this will be actually an inline property, and I'm gonna return this. There you go. This should work, or it should be a method. Yeah, it should be a method. Okay, get small button. So basically, I'm just gonna do this: get small button and get small button. And actually, we can also get it out of the way and put it right here, just so we have a private static class. And we're just using it here. So get small button, and we add what it should do on click. And even the margin, I don't think we need for the decrease, right? Now, where did I say I want to put it? I want to put it here in line with my value, right? Whew. Let's wait a bit. This doesn't take a lot of time. This is so easy. It's stupid easy, right? So I want them to be here, plus minus, right? How do I do that? Well, I just I add a row, and I inject this and my two buttons. It's very, 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 very easy. So how do I do that? Let's go here and say design utils row, add child, and we add this. like so. Now we add a space block, and now we add child, our increase value, and we add child, our decrease. Actually, we can also add a space block and remove this altogether, just so we have it nicer. There you go. Let's see how this looks. I think we should change the all our buttons have some sizes, have some they are clear, outline, and solid, I think. Okay, so I do not like how they look. Let's make them a bit bigger, and let's add some colors to them. All right, so the button will be get small button. Let's make them contained. The size will be, I do not want to use a label, I want to use an icon. All right, so small, contained, and let's also add a default color. Set accent color, design, actually editor selectable colors, because this is a button. I'm going to say default, and I'll say action because this is an action. And here for the increase, I'm going to add an icon. Set icon, editor sprite sheets, editor UI, icons plus. All right, and I'm going to do the same here and I'll say minus, just so it's nicer. Then we're going to set some colors so they look nice. All right, you will see in a second our plus and minus buttons, and you'll see how they work. Plus and minus, so I can increase it and I can decrease it. Of course, I forgot to also apply the modified properties because I'm not careful. Properties and CS property, apply modified properties. My bad. Properties. All right, and now we should be, oh, sorry about that. We should be able to see it. It's really very easy if you have the tools to do it, because there's a lot of, there you go. It should increase, it should decrease, and it should also have undo. So plus, 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 and undo, 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 and minus, 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 and undo, undo, undo. I'm just clicking Control Z, by the way. All right. So this is how they look. Now I think the buttons are being squished, so I do not want that to happen. So, oh, sorry, I think I launched by mistake I do not want that. So let's come back here and let's say flex shrink 0. Flex shrink 0. And I can also say element size, instead of small, I'm going to say tiny. Let's make it even smaller. Let's see how that looks. If it looks better, I'm going to keep it. Maybe I can put it in front of the field. All right, just so it's fun. There you go, plus minus. There we have our values. Now, because we did that, this got messed up. So we need to do some changes around here. But other than that, this looks quite solid. Let's say minus, this will be a remove color. So it will be a red. So set accent color, editor selectable colors, default this time. And I'm going to say remove. And here I'm going to say add. So because it's a, this should be a blue color. Set accent color, editor selectable colors, and this will be default. Of course, add. It already knows what I want. Perfect. So now that I've done that, I need to make sure that this is set flex grow 1. All right, let's do the same here, just so we are on the same page, and it should look nice. Let's see. And that's pretty much it. And you can imagine that you can control these things in various ways. So we have a plus and minus right here. I don't know why this looks so bad. So this is flex row 1. Let me do a check with this debugger. Let's see what happened here. So our fluid field and our fluid field both have flex row 1, flex shrink 1. Let's go with 0 and let's go with 0. Yeah. So it's something that it's pushing them. Yeah, I think it's the plus and minus sign. So this should have 0. What's this? Fluid field flex row 1. Let's go inside of it. So pick element this integer field. So you have a flex row 1. Yeah. What's making use? So flex row 1 and flex shrink 1. Let's see. I think that's the problem. Let me check. All right, let's come back here. I want to fix this and I'll say set flex shrink 1. As you can see, we can do a lot of things here. We can add different options, right? Just by using this method chaining, this inline method chaining. Let's see if this fixes that. Otherwise, I'm gonna put them. Yeah, I don't feel like doing this. So I'm gonna say this max value. I'm gonna say 64. All right. So where's my set max width? Let's say 64. Right. And I'm gonna copy this to the float as well. All right. Let's see if this fixes our issue, because we do have an issue here, and then I'm gonna push them to the left. So we do not have huge, let's also add a update. Perfect. 64. So these no longer need to be flex row 1. So let's just remove that. Let's just remove float field. Let's remove that. And let's add a flexible space here. So add flexible space right here. So basically I added a flexible space here. So I'm pushing them all to the left. So it's easier to work with. I think this is a better design overall. Did you load? Perfect. And there are still quite a lot. So let's go with flex shrink, set flex shrink 1, set flex grow 0. So don't let it grow dynamically. All right, let's put it like so. All right, and flexible space right here. And this should also have flex shrink, I think. Fluid button. All right. Set flex shrink and set flex shrink. All right. Just let them be smaller. Any flex field can also have a icon, so we can also add icons to them. There you go. I don't know why they don't go smaller. What's happening here? So flex shrink. Let me check a bit because I'm not happy with the design. So pick element, this one. What's making you so big? I'm just wondering. Template container. Let's go 1. Layout container. Icon. Flex shrink 1, 0. Fluid field. So they should be row. Okay, the row is through there. This one shouldn't be that of an issue. Flex shrink, flex row 1, 0. There you go. Okay, so the fluid field has flex shrink. Yeah, there you go. All right, this is what I want. Okay, so step refreshing 1. Perfect. This wasn't saved. Let's see. So let's come back here, and my fluid field has a flex grow 1. It needs to be 0. All right, now I know what I have to do. So set flex grow 0, and I'm gonna copy this here as well. So you cannot grow, but you can shrink. So now they will be to the left. And let's also make this instead of 64, let's make it 80, let's say. So now you'll see they look nicer. And let's make this a bit bigger. Let's say 120. Yeah, 120, 128. Yeah, let's make it like that. So 128. And the integer field should have again 128, just so we have the same value. All right, and I'm also gonna set a reset value for the float. For example, instead of using a plus and minus. So what did I do wrong? Max width for the integer float field. Let's say width 128, 128, 128. So basically I'm setting the min, max, and I'm just forcing that width for it, right? And I don't care for the grow, and I don't care for the grow. There you go. All right, so I said I want a reset button for my test float. All right, so I would like it to reset to 3.14, so to the pi number. And now they should look nice. All right, so I will add a reset button right here, right? So plus, minus, this works. And I want a reset for this and to a reset value. So I'm gonna set the value actually in sandbox settings, and I'll say public const float test float default value equals 3.14f. All right, and let's also use a proper naming, and let's set it as the default value. There you go. I'm also say public const test int default value 42. This is an integer, and let's name it, and public const string. All right, you already know what I want, and let's use them like that because this is a better way of doing things. So now I have some default values for them. Let's put them here to the top. Actually, I'm gonna put it right here. Where are my variables? Yeah, there. And I'm gonna move the save methods here, and let's add a region, save, and load. There you go. And region. Okay. Let's add another region for the instance right here. So I'll say region instance. Okay, and let's put it right here. Okay, so because this class can grow and we would like to see only our variables, and these will be public, and I don't care if anyone has an issue with that. All right, so basically I want to create some reset button for these values, so I'm able to reset to the default value, right? So how can I do that? I'm just making this tutorial a bit longer so you can see some various things that you can add. So basically, because the reset button will look the same everywhere, I will create a class that gives me a reset button. So I say private static fluid button get reset button. All right. So here I'm going to say get small button. So I'm getting all the settings. So basically I want all my buttons to look the same. That's the magic of it. And I want the reset. Yeah, it also had a reset value. So basically what I want is to have the icon reset and a tooltip reset value. And that's pretty much it. So what I can do here is add another space block. Let's make it a bit longer. And I'll say add child get reset button. And I can also set a callback for it, right? So let's say Unity action callback, right? Okay. And I'll say set on click, and I'll say callback, right? And here, what will my callback be? Well, I'm gonna say my callback would be property test int value is settings sandbox settings dot. I'm going to use the default value for the integer, and then of course serialized object apply modify properties. So this is my reset button, and I'm going to do the same for the other ones. All right, so this is very, very easy actually. So I'm going to create a row, right? So design utils row. What is this row? It's basically a visual element that has the name set row, just so you can find it easily, that has a flex direction set row and a flex row one. So basically, instead of writing this, I just say design utils row. This is just a way to have your to have a way to write layouting a design very fast, and to be able to work with as little code as possible, right? So I say add child. I'm gonna add this. Let's add a space block. Add space block, and now let's add a child get reset button. And again, I'm gonna set my callback. It's very, very easy. I'm gonna set my property test string value, and it already knows what I want and applies serialized properties. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's put it like that so it's easier to follow. So basically, in my field for the text string, I added a my field space and then a reset button. That's it. Let's do the same here. For my integer field, I already did that. And now here, the same thing. This is stupid easy. Design utils row. So as you can see, I can create an interface add block, add space block, and then let's add a child. Let's say get reset button, and now let's create its and what will it do? It will get this test float value and get its default value, and then apply modify properties. Whew, and that's pretty much it. And we also have undo for everything. All right, let's come back here. And this is how it looks, this crazy stuff. I can also put them all in the same line, in one line, and just have one like that. So let's say, let's put a value here. Let's increase the value, and let's say, hi there. There you go. And now if I deselect and go to my sandbox, I can also see them like that. Let's reset. Of course, I can also undo, Control Z. There you go, it works. So let's reset them. And let's delete. And let's come back here, and there you go. you have the same values. It will work with everything. If I change it here, it will update over there in our game object. One more thing you can add, and I advise you to do that, is to add a save method, a save button. All right, let's reset this to 314. So I'm gonna add another button that does, maybe I'm gonna add it here, does a save asset, and you might want to do that, right? So let's go to our editor, and I'm gonna create a method. I'll say private void save, and this is very easy to do. Editor utility set dirty, and I'm gonna set dirty the target, and of course I'm gonna say asset database save asset if dirty target. Basically, your whenever you click save, you go and click a save button that we will be creating. It will set the target dirty and save it, just to make sure that your settings are saved, because they might not be saved every time. And this is a fail-safe method, right? And let's come back here. We can also set the save after each change. So basically, if you click reset, it can also trigger save, but yeah, don't do it. All right, now I need to add a save button right here. So I'm gonna do it like so. And let's create a fluid button right here, but although it would change the thing. So let's create it here. Let's say private fluid button, save button, right? And let's create it. So let's go here and say save button equals, let's go like this, fluid button, not new, fluid button dot get. I'm gonna say set label text save. Let's also add a icon, set icon, editor sprite sheets, editor UI icon save. You should have that. Now set element size. Let's make it large for this particular. Actually, let's make it normal, just so it's a bit bigger than the other ones. Now I'm gonna say set button style. Let's make it outline, just so you see how it looks. And then set on click, well, let's call save with the save method whenever you click it. And that's pretty much it. That's the button. So I've created a button. I've added the label, an icon. Let's actually add first the icon, then the label. Let's also add a tooltip, set tooltip, and save the changes made to the settings asset, right? And set element size, set the bottom style, and what it should do on click, it should call the save method. All right, so now let's add it to our outline, and let's add a child. Let's add a design utils row, add flexible space, add child save button, again add flexible space, just so it's in the middle, right? And let's also add, let's leave a lot more space here. So now we have a save button that is a bit bigger, right? And you will see that it looks nice, or I don't know, it's very easy. I think this is a long tutorial. I'm gonna stop because I think it's enough. You already have an idea of how you can create your own settings, whatever this is. All right, there you go. And I have a save button. You can also change the, let's put it here, and let's give it another color. So I'm gonna delete this. And let's make it a set accent color, editor selectable colors, default, add, right? The add color. So basically, I've just moved it to the right. because I removed, actually I moved it to the left, I think I moved it here. Yeah, we'll see. There you go. And now you can save, and of course it will do the saving. And in our settings window, I have the same thing and the same functionality. And this is how you create both an editor and an editor window that you can use and you can access. And these are your global settings, right? So this is how it looks. That's it. I hope you like this tutorial. If a lot of you say you like this direction, I'm going to create more tutorials like this one, where I explain step by step how you create them, the logic behind them, and so on. And yeah, that's how you do it. Of course, I can also show you how to create a dashboard like the ones that Doozy has. It's really easy with our system. Believe it or not, the dashboard is everything you see here is dynamically generated. Nothing is done by hand. Even the menu, so even this, every type of functionality that you see here has been designed this way. Even what you see here is dynamically populated. So yeah, I can show you how to do that if there is enough. If there are enough requests for this. Okay, so that's it for this tutorial. I hope you liked it. I know it's long, and I hope it's useful and brings value to you. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.